Hi, I'm Brandon Ferdig of The Periphery, where we offer a refreshing look at humanity. Today I'm talking about the use of okboomer. So I sort of want to analyze and just look at the use of okboomer because it is noteworthy, intriguing, odd maybe, in that it's the exception to many rules that we seem to have with titles of demographics being used in negative ways, and this one being acceptable and cool. I've had a look at this, like watching it in social media and being like, So let's just start from the beginning. The use of okboomer has become popular even in just the last 6 months.
I think it became really popular on social media as more and more, I think Generation Z saw examples of times where perhaps boomers and maybe Generation X, where it seemed like they were out of touch with the things that were important to members of Generation Z.
It just sort of became a thing to call that out. Like, oh man, your generation as baby boomers, you're stuck in the old way of thinking, or you're the ones who caused this mess economically or with the climate. So I'm just going to dismiss what you have to say by just not by calling out the way you're thinking, like, okay, Republican or conservative or independent or libertarian or whatever, but by saying, whatever, boomer, whatever, old person. And it just sort of became a thing. Boomer is a less, I mean, it's a strong word, boomer, but it's not like it really cuts deeply, like it's mean, like if you said whatever, old person. So you're able to use it, I think, in a more permissible way. And so it caught on. And it's now become cool, right? It's become a fashionable, cool thing to do. There have been uses of it recently that have, quote, gone viral.
I think it's pretty lighthearted. I do think that...
Lighthearted?
Yeah, I hope that people aren't too offended by it, but I do think it's meant to be a joke. It's not meant to be a slur in any way.
What makes this interesting, what makes me go, is that you recognize it as an insult to a large group of people, a demographic, across the demographic, and it being okay. When is it okay to make fun of a group of people? And of course, there are times where it is acceptable. Like you'll see stand-up comedians make fun of a certain race or a gender or a sexual orientation. And when it's done in a comedy club or a roast or these sorts of settings, people laugh and they're like, okay, yeah, you're making, okay, yeah, we got it. It's people's guards are let down and it's okay. But if you ever use a racial slur or call out someone for being, a specific gender or sexual orientation and do it in a malicious way, like in an argument, then of course that's not seen as okay. You can just simply replace okay boomer with okay woman or okay Asian person, and it would instantly be, reacted to strongly. It's the division of taboo in society, and okay boomer is not on, it's on this side, whereas if I said okay woman, okay gay dude, okay black guy, like any of those things, I would be instantly seen as wrong. Whereas okay boomer is ha ha ha, even if it's used in a negative way, even if it's used to be mean. The other reason why it's different than, I guess why it's unique is that you're using the title of a demographic as an insult. Remember when it used to be fun and cool to say gay about things? Like oh man, that's so gay, that's so gay.
Gay, totally gay.
It meant that's so dumb, that's so lame. And the real harm there was that you were using a people's demographic title as an insult. The name of our demographic, our category, is just an insult. That's like inherently insulting. And that's also what boomer is being used as. It's used as an insult to be. So of course it's not just used on people who are older, it's used on young people.
Because you also don't have to be a boomer to receive that.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
It's become this generation's use of the word gay, where it's okay to use a demographics title as an insult. Let's establish why it's okay. It's considered okay to use okboomer. I have 3 reasons why I think that is. One, because it's not a specific skin color or gender or sexual orientation or religion or whatever. It's, you know, if I said, okay, Muslim, again, that would be the same kind of, ooh, that's not okay. But age, that cuts across every skin color. That cuts across every male, female, Catholic, Jewish, you know, it's just you're old, right? Now, why that is okay, I don't know. I guess it's seen as less bad because it doesn't discriminate between any of the other categories I mentioned. Second, the people who use it, who've really started using it, are doing so in what they consider to be a just cause. So if you're on the right side of climate change, if you're one of the good guys, then that kind of gives you a reason or an excuse to, it gives you some room to be mean toward those you disagree with because they're the bad guys, right? They're the bad ones who are against fighting climate change and saving our planet, who are against racial justice and a more equal world, right? They're fighting against that stuff. They're bad. And because you're good, you know, you're righteous, you have more room to be mean, really. It's sort of a loophole here. It's sort of a loophole in allowing oneself to express. I think we all have sort of a desire inside, a fear in us to let it out, to be hateful. I think that's sort of in every human being. And when there's a loophole like this, oh, out it comes, right? Like, oh, it's safe. It's safe. It's okay to do this. I can get away with this for a while. It's sort of like the lights are off and in a school or in a preschool, like, and now the kids can kind of run around and get away with things without the parents looking or without the teachers seeing. The third reason why I think it's seen as okay is that it's just hard to keep up with it. It's proliferated so much. And this is all because of the internet. So the internet doesn't just allow you to spread ideas and memes out there so quickly, which is what is done here. But it's also, but with that speed has come less quality, less richness to our engagement, right? You're not reading a 1,500 word story in the New York Times anymore. You're reading a series of tweets that maybe come up to 300 words if you read a series of many tweets, right? People are into the quicker mediums, and that's fine because sometimes all you need to do is send out a tweet. You don't need to put it in print somewhere in a newspaper or in a long article or whatever. You just want to share a little blip. That's great. But it's too tempting for many people to resist, I think, the shallow engagement, the less involved engagement that comes with such a short burst of communication. So just like we see in real life conversation, someone's trying to explain themselves and you have another person next to them continually interrupting them with a quick insult, and then that person interrupting them has friends laughing because it's becoming humorous that these interruptions keep occurring, undercutting the individual trying to speak. I mean, it is real mean. It is really mean, but there's a humor to that, right? We see it. We've seen it obviously our whole lives, and now we're seeing it in cyberspace, online, on social media. So when I tried to when I tried to explain a short summary of this issue of okboomer, yeah, you can guess what happened. Okboomer, 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 right? I mean, it's predictable. It's what's going to happen, and it's acceptable and it's cool. Sometimes it's used in jest, and so it's not malicious, but it can be used maliciously. It's a permissible form of hate that we have today. And look how this acceptability completely changes a person's perspective. This was played out to a T on this interview. Listen to all these ways okboomer is postured, and then imagine these exact same statements made in regards to an ethnic or a gender-based slur.
Young people have found a snappy retort.
I think it's pretty lighthearted. Well, I hope that people aren't too offended by it, but I do think it's meant to be a joke. It's not meant to be a slur in any way. Keeping in mind that Generation Z, they're all below the age of 22. When you say something when you're below the age of 22, it may not be may not be as well thought out always as something that you might say as an adult.
So let's look ahead to the future. You know, one, it'll lose its novelty, so it'll just stop being cool. So there's that. Also, I think some people who are considered cool, right now cool people are using it, so it's cool, right? People go along with it. But that will end when someone who's on that side, who leans left, who's a champion of, like, say, Bernie Sanders, or I don't know, someone like that. He's actually good. Elizabeth Warren, maybe, you know, someone who might be a baby boomer, who's seen as on the good side. And again, this is a political division, right? I mean, let's call out the elephant, right? I mean, this is a thing where it is used more by people who lean left, and they control culture. So this is why this is important. And they call it out as, look, this isn't cool. It's not fun to make fun of me and my family and my siblings and my friends because we're 65 or older. Like, I mean, that's not, why is that okay? Why is it okay to be mean to us? So they'll explain why it's a slur and why it's like the way we used to use gay. Conservatives will use it. So this is also where the political element comes in. If people who don't lean left, let's say they're libertarian, conservative, they say it to Bernie Sanders. They undercut his statements online, right? They interrupt him at a speech. They hold up okboomer signs at his events, right? Now it's not okay. The definers of what's cool will decide, and there's no like anyone controlling this, I understand, but just the movement. The movement will decide, hey, that's not cool. It's not cool to make fun of Bernie Sanders' age. Like, dude, that's just who he is. Like, you're gonna make fun of him because he's Jewish or because he's a man or because, you know, no. So this is really a study. It's a sociological study in the social media age, where you see something like this take off, become cool, when it doesn't align with what should be acceptable, right? I mean, a slur should not be okay. If these slurs are bad, why is this one okay? This one snuck through, right? So you can just kind of see the mechanisms of how the American or even the Western society, the English-speaking society, will let the phenomenon of okboomer be what it is.